IVM.
There's a quick survey to fill out on ivmpodcast.com/survey. It lets us know a little bit more about who's listening to us. And you know what? We're going to do a few prizes. So, we'll do a random drawing of maybe 10 people and we'll send you all some swag. Remember, that's ivmpodcast.com/survey where you can fill out the survey.
Hi, I'm Utsav, a behavior researcher by training and a slow traveler by passion. Postcards from Nowhere is a travel podcast where I condense a decade of travel experiences and explore not just the where, but also the why and how to travel. My stories emerge from slow traveling the less explored parts of the world: Bosnia and Herzegovina, Armenia, Uzbekistan, and even China. At the end of each story, I give practical tips and new ideas about how to travel better. This week, in the 7th episode of the series, Fabulous Foods, we take on one of the hottest debates in Indian cooking: Biryani versus Pulao. We delve into the fine art of deceit in Mughlai cooking and the pointlessness of our food debates. 1856, Awadh, British India. A 20th century art historian compared the city to an Indian mixture of pre-revolutionary Tehran, Monte Carlo, and Las Vegas. However, the kingdom was in decline. The last Nawab of the Kingdom of Awadh, Wajid Ali Shah, had his kingdom annexed by the British and he had been exiled to Calcutta. Post 26-month imprisonment in Fort William, he was given a handsome pension. He settled in Matia Burj, then a suburb of Calcutta. Following his settlement, musicians, chefs, hakims and the general public, all of them started to visit the place. Within a short span of time, Matia Burj developed into a different culture, and it was almost like a mini Lucknow. This also gave rise to a long-standing myth about how the potato became part of the Calcutta biryani. Perpetuated by the British, it said that the potato was a replacement for meat since the Nawab could no longer afford the meat on a regular basis. A classic British tactic to defame the princes in a bid to consolidate colonial power. However, the true story is markedly different. By the 16th century, the Portuguese had introduced potatoes, chilies and tomatoes to India. Back then, potato was considered an exotic vegetable and was not easily available. The Nawabs of Awadh were connoisseurs of food and encouraged the royal cooks to experiment. In one of the experiments, the chef added potato to the biryani. The Avdi biryani is cooked in dum pukht style. In this style, the lid is sealed over the pot so the steam doesn't go out. As a result, the fragrance, aroma, juices of spices, rice, meat and saffron all gets absorbed in the meat. So when the potato was cooked along with saffron, spices and meat, it tasted delicious. When it was served to Wajid Ali Shah, he liked it immensely and said that henceforth the biryani should have the potato added. This is just one of the examples of how food histories become intensely political and how easily they become tools of deceit used to vilify communities. Be it the British then, the freedom fighters later, and the right wing today, the dog whistles abound. But the Mughals themselves practiced a unique form of deceit, though a much more desirable one. When a prince from Delhi, who was a well-known gourmet, dined with Wajid Ali Shah, he was served what he was told was a murabba, a thick, highly spiced conserve made of fruit or vegetables. In fact, it was a korma, a meat curry, but fashioned to look like a murabba. A few days later, the prince reciprocated by serving the Nawabs hundreds of dishes, including pulao, korma, biryani and chapati, all made of sugar, including the serving plates. This culinary mastery of creating dishes from unusual ingredients or to make an entire meal from a single ingredient was a technique called paheli or riddle. But the art of paheli was not restricted to rich and complex foods alone. One of the lesser known aspects of Mughal cooking is its love for khichdi, of whom King Jahangir was a patron. In his memoirs, he wrote, "Of the food that is particular to the people of Gujarat, there is a bajra khichdi, a mixture of split peas and millet boiled together. It is the kind of grain which does not grow in any other country other than Hindustan. It is not devoid of flavor, and it suited me well. I ordered that on the days of abstinence, when I do not consume flesh, they should frequently bring me the khichdi." But in Hyderabad, even the humble khichdi was a part of the elaborate theatre of paheli. It was composed of peeled almonds sliced thinly to resemble grains of rice, and pistachios sliced to look like green lentils. Almonds, pistachios, and lentils were mixed in equal measure and cooked slowly with either an equal or double amount of ghee. But the theatre of today features the distinction or the war between biryani and pulao. The meat eaters insist that there is nothing called a vegetable biryani, and it's basically a pulao. The implicit suggestion in this fight is that the biryani is superior to the pulao and requires far more finesse, both from the cook and from the one who eats. So what do the Mughal chroniclers say, considering both the pulao and the biryani originated in Persia and Central Asia? Now typically the biryani is the centerpiece of a meal, whereas the pulao is an accompaniment. One would imagine that a pulao would require much less finesse and care to put together, and therefore a less preferred dish? The people of Lucknow would disagree. Abdul Halim Sharar, a noted Awadh historian, offers the following distinction. To the uninitiated palate, both are much the same. But because of the number of spices in biryani, there is always a strong taste of curried rice, whereas pulao can be prepared with such care that this can never happen. In the view of gourmets, a biryani is a clumsy and ill-conceived meal in comparison with a really good pulao. Pulaos thereby fittingly had poetic names, such as Gulzar or garden, Noor or light, and Chameli or jasmine. In one pulao, half of the grain of rice was colored fiery red like a ruby, and the other half was white and sparkled like a crystal, so that they resembled the seeds of a pomegranate. The apogee of the pulao maker's art was a moti pulao made by beating 200 grams of silver foil and 20 grams of gold foil into the yolk of an egg. The mixture was stuffed into the gullet of a chicken, which was lightly cooked. When the skin was cut with a knife, shining pearls appeared. They were mixed with the meat, and the whole was mixed with rice. The pulao has been known for its use of a limited range of spices. In fact, in most of Mughlai cuisine, the most frequently used spices were ginger, cinnamon, black pepper, cumin, cardamom, cloves, saffron, and coriander. But you must be wondering, that pretty much covers the most common spices we used. What was different about Mughlai royal cooking? The difference was really what they did not use. Long pepper, dried ginger, aniseed, turmeric, nigella, fennel, mustard seeds, black and white sesame seeds, tamarind, and curry leaves. But why were the royal kitchens not using these spices? One of the possible reasons could be that these spices were not native to Mughals. The Mughals, after all, is a Persian name for Mongols, and they came from Persia and Central Asia. These spices were not known to them till they arrived in Hindustan, and hence did not take to them readily. So to all the connoisseurs of the authentic biryani, I pose this question. The potato and tomato came from the Portuguese. The Mughals themselves prized the pulao over the biryani, and they even admired the humble khichdi. So here is my unpopular take on the biryani versus pulao, or the veg biryani debate. It's pointless, because even if you settle this in the favor of the biryani, you would then enter a sub-debate. Which amongst the Avdhi, Calcutta and Hyderabadi biryanis is the best? If you settle this one, you can enter a sub-debate. Should a biryani have elaichi or not? In a country which is being divided across food lines, these debates harbor a form of deceit. A deceit which allows us to have pointless debates, while larger political powers at play unleash havoc. All we end up with is a false sense of superiority. If we are to practice deceit, let the only deceit be the tradition of paheli, one that amazes and delights us.
If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Utsav Memory on Twitter and YVTravel42 on Instagram.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Think Fast, Varun and Suchita discuss Netflix's new buttons and do a rundown on the ongoing hiring and firing trends in startups. On Big Talk About Tiny Humans, Devi Shobha and Meghna share strategies to help your child develop a healthy self-image. On Cyrus Says, Nivedita, Naveen, Antriksh and Cyrus discuss KGF Chapter 2 crossing 200 crore rupees over a single weekend. On Smarter with Sid, Siddharth talks about whether brands should use sustainability as an angle for marketing. And on Tere Mere Raste, Keshav takes us to the sea of humanity and faith, the Kumbh Mela. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, please don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening to us on. And remember, you can always check us out on YouTube. We have a number of channels. You can go to ivmpodcast.com/YouTube to take a look at what those channels are. We're also doing a small listener survey to understand how you respond to our shows and the advertising on the network. We would really appreciate it if you could spare a few minutes to fill it out. It really helps us build better shows for you and understand what you're looking for from advertising and what we can talk to advertisers about who you are. Please go to ivmpodcast.com/survey. It really would help us out. Thank you so much. And finally, would like to thank our sponsors for the network this week, SBI Life Insurance, India Water Portal, and Jupiter, a digital banking app. Thank you so much for making this possible.
क्या आप लेफ्ट आउट फील करते हैं जब कोई आपसे इन्वेस्टमेंट या इंश्योरेंसेस की बात करता है? क्या आप सीखना चाहते हैं कि अपने पैसों को स्मार्ट तरीके से कैसे मैनेज करना है? अगर हाँ, तो आप सही जगह आए हैं। स्वागत है आपका SBI लाइफ प्रस्तुत एक चुस्की फाइनेंस में, महिलाओं द्वारा महिलाओं के लिए बनाया गया पॉडकास्ट, जहां हम आसान शब्दों में कठिन फाइनेंशियल टॉपिक्स पर बात करेंगे, मेरे यानी प्रियंका आचार्य के साथ। अपने 14 वर्षों का अनुभव लिए मैं आ रही हूँ हिंदी और अन्य 7 भाषाओं में हर मंगलवार नए एपिसोड्स के साथ IVM पॉडकास्ट नेटवर्क और अन्य चर्चित पॉडकास्ट प्लेटफॉर्म्स पर।